And today we're going to find out what this sound is.
Big Daddy Trump, ready to swing his 14-inch in front of Newsom's face, will drive up any stock. What's your caffeine intake?
I just do coffee, which I didn't
All
do
day?
until 2 years ago. I do like 2.
You didn't do it at all until 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This show
did
it?
Has ruined my nervous system.
Yeah.
That's what I need to meet you at this desk again. Sam Koppelman.
Yeah, here we are.
The last time you were at this desk, by the way, the two of us investigated whether the Chinese government had been stealing athlete brainwaves,
which ended up spurring an investigation by the House Committee on Energy and Commerce, announced in September. I did not know that committee was listening to the Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast.
Yeah, I like to think that they came for the taste testing athlete weed episodes. And
yes,
stuck around
come for the weed episodes, stay for the Chinese brainwaves.
Stay for the geopolitical scandals we uncover with you. And yet,
scanning brainwaves is wild. Well, low-key, I kind of respect it. I'm not going to lie. I kind of respect it.
The story that you're here at the desk to discuss today, the story you've been working on, is even weirder and even bigger in its own key way, I dare say.
Yeah, it's a bit girthier, this story, for sure. Absolutely.
I want to get into this story, as it were, by explaining a thing that I think all of us are numb to in America. I mean, you're still quite familiar with politics in the United States as an author, as a former speechwriter, as a guy who studies the political system. And it's mind-blowing once you take just a beat to think about how there is this playbook for every single person who's in trouble legally, financially, which is to just appeal directly to Donald Trump.
If you can just get in front of him, you've got a shot.
Yes. I'm thinking of course, former New York Congressman George Santos, who has a resume that you'd laugh out of, was almost literally laughed into jail because of it. I think of the co-founder of Aspiration, a guy I'm quite familiar with now, Joe Sandberg, hiring Mark McCasey, a former Trump attorney.
I didn't even know that guy asked for a pardon as well. That's kind of crazy.
And then I discovered that Chauncey Billups, another subject of our investigations, hired McCasey as well because of the NBA gambling and poker stuff. Only to then see that Terry Rozier, the current NBA player embroiled in those same indictments, hired a gentleman by the name of Jim Trusty, which is, of course, a perfect name for a Trump attorney, which, of course, Jim Trusty also was.
The reason people are doing this is because...
Build a website you love with Wix. For your words, create your brand.
It works. I mean, there's a couple examples. Like there's this guy, Trevor Milton. I don't know if you remember that company, Nikola. They had those giant trucks. And the scam was that there was this video they posted of this massive truck coming down a hill. And it turned out the truck didn't actually have an engine or anything. They were just dragging it down. And he hired a guy named Brad Bondi. And if the reason that last name is familiar to you, it is because his sister is Pam Bondi, the United States Attorney General.
Oh, yes.
And Milton gets pardoned and ends up on Tucker Carlson as a conservative icon. Another one that I love is CZ.
It's so crazy. The amount of corrupt people that Donald Trump just pardons is insanity. But I'm gonna do a whole portion, probably after editing, going over some more names that they don't cover, because it's actually insane. And these people that are getting pardoned, they're not good people at all. Like, why are we pardoning them?
The guy who ran Binance, the bet noir of Sam Bankman-Fried,
yes,
who himself,
FTX's rival,
exactly, went to prison. And his indictment was one of my favorite ones ever, one of the great smoking guns, because his CCO said in writing, "We are operating a unlicensed security exchange in the USA, bro." He was sentenced and put in prison. And then CZ backed the crypto company of Trump's kids.
Yeah.
And he had his sentence commuted, just like Milton.
Right. And then
it's insane. Just keeps on pardoning corrupt people. I wonder if people know that Diddy asked for a pardon as well. I'm just saying. It's disgusting. Yeah.
The media circuit.
Just do a favor
Trump
for Donald Trump.
60 minutes.
Pardon you.
The government at the time said that CZ had caused significant harm to U.S. national security, essentially by allowing terrorist groups like Hamas to move millions of dollars around. Why did you pardon him?
Okay, are you ready? I don't know who he is. I know he got 4 months.
And the thing that bothers me is that we're numb as a country to the fact that this is just a practice.
It's an everyday kind of a thing.
I mean, I remember playing like Thumb War growing up, and then you'd get the kid who just like goes helicopters and like comes over the top, and it's like that's what the justice system is like.
Cue the people in the comments saying, "But Biden preemptively pardoned his kids. But Biden." So because Biden did this one scenario, Donald Trump can pardon all the evil people he wants. It's okay now. Cue it. Guarantee someone's gonna say it.
Like you can just call for help from up above, and the rules don't matter anymore. But I think the best, or at least my favorite case study as it relates to this trend of corruption, has to do with arguably the most prolific gambler, it turns out, in athlete history. And Phil Mickelson is someone who has tweeted at both of us in the last week, by the way, which we will explain here. But the message he sent, that is the core of why I invited you into the studio, was both private and about privates.
It was indeed about privates. It was, dare I say, a fairly erotic message.
It was a new addition to, yes, a canon of literature that I didn't quite know existed.
Phil Mickelson messages a group of people we'll identify later. This erotic fanfic from Phil Mickelson reads, Big Daddy Trump, ready to swing his 14-inch in front of Newsom's face, will drive up any stock.
Yeah, I think everybody in America has been waiting for the Gavin Newsom, Donald Trump, just like deeply sexual fan fiction.
Totally. This is the erotica the kids have been waiting for.
Complimentary and also very open-minded and potentially deeply legally problematic.
Deep.
I didn't, as I grow, the idea at this point you can separate politics from the rest of who you are is becoming more and more shallow to me. I do think it's possible to be ignorant about politics, right? You're ignorant about what is actually going on. I think that's possible. But some of these celebrities are really showing me who they are. I just found out recently that this is an allegation. I didn't look into it, so I'm going to let you guys know what the allegation is. The guy who plays Hawkeye, and this hurt me because I love the MCU. The guy that plays Hawkeye threatened a director saying he's going to get ICE to deport her or him. I don't remember the gender. And I'm like, but you're Hawkeye. but you're Hawkeye though. So it's like, no. Why are these people pieces of shit? And stuff.
And bigly, as it were.
So just as a matter of what this message is, how it got into my memory, seared there for all time now, to whom was Phil sending this?
He was sending it to a group chat.
Right.
So this is a group chat of investors in a company called Sable Offshore.
And so I want to just visualize for everybody who is not familiar with anything related to finance, and certainly not Sable Offshore. If this group chat was a physical room full of real life people, what would we be looking at?
It'd kind of look like The Hangover 2, the hotel room in that movie, but with fewer women.
Right. And a deep passion for this specific company, it sounds like.
Yes, for Sable Offshore, which I can tell you a little bit of the lore behind. I don't know if you remember, but in 2015, there was this giant oil spill in California.
Overnight, the governor of California declaring a state of emergency in Santa Barbara as disturbing new images show the growing impact of the major oil spill off the coast. Volunteers collecting hundreds of buckets of oil from this beach, yet hardly making a dent.
Sable Offshore is trying to bring the pipeline responsible for that spill back.
Just based on that news coverage, It does not seem like that pipeline would be a great investment.
Well, Exxon did spend 7 years trying to reopen this pipeline. And every time they ran into problems getting it approved by California, which is understandably worried about a traffic.
Like I said before, the more I dive into this, the more I realize these big corporations do not care about anything but making more money. It makes me go like, I understand why people on the left, and in particular the far left, are so passionate about some of the things that they advocate for. I do think they put too much of a blanket brush sometimes, and sometimes the conversation's more delicate. There's more context, and then the way they go about things is very flawed at times. But I understand the passion, similar to how I understand the concern for people who voted for Trump about wages, about the government. Like, these people just want a better life, and they pointed their angst at the wrong places. So they're similar to the people on the far left, but where everybody's pointing their anger is sometimes flawed, or the way that they try to fix it in their own way is flawed sometimes. So we need to kind of guide everybody's energy, everybody's worry at a very specific place. And I always point it in a very specific direction. Before all this MAGA Donald Trump like evil shit, I was like, bro, we got to do something with the increasing wealth gap. So we got to point our dissatisfaction at the 1%, the very, 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 very wealthy. We just do. And we got to pressure them to helping fix society, because their incentive is just making money. They don't really care about the people.
Like this happening again.
All the animals covered in oil.
Exactly. And for Exxon, cleaning up this pipeline, closing it down, would cost billions of dollars. And so instead, they did something else with it.
And so, as a matter of corporate strategy, that something else is
Roku's self-serve ads platform. It's easier than ever with Ads Manager. Sign up today.
Ghost Pepper Cheesesteak is back at Penn Station. Try one before it vanishes. Love your sub.
They basically gave this oil project, the Santa Ynez unit, to this kind of cowboy oilman named Jim Flores, better known as Big Jim Flores on account of his large stature.
And so it's hard not to paraphrase There Will Be Blood here, but Big Jim is an oil man.
He is indeed an oil man, and his career has been one befitting a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Big ups, big downs, big swings, sold a company for over $1 billion, had another company go into bankruptcy, and this is kind of the last big swing for Big Jim.
And the way it works, so like Exxon gives Big Jim the pipeline?
They basically gave him a huge loan and was like, you can use our money to go take over this pipeline. And maybe it doesn't work. Maybe you have the same fate as us, and then Exxon will take the pipeline back. But if you can get it approved, if you can get it online,
you can bring this
you will
thing
make
back.
Billions and billions of dollars. It's, in a way, the ultimate gamble. And so, of course, it appeals to the ultimate gambler, Phil Mickelson.
And that superlative is not one that we can claim ourselves. This is a reputation that is actually, it seems empirically validated by no less a source than his now estranged gambling partner, Billy Walters, who provides in his book and audiobook a dossier that is also overflowing with some pretty crude material.
Billy Walters, who, it should be noted, was known as the greatest sports bettor of all time.
The truth is, Phil liked to gamble as much as anyone I've met. I've known some of the biggest gamblers in the world. To give you an idea of how much Phil liked to gamble, he called me in September of 2012 from Madonna Country Club outside Chicago with an astounding request.
Does this say Pat McAfee? Wait, what? Why is Pat McAfee quoted on the top? This book is going to become the sports gambling Bible. The formula is in the book. Low-key might get this book. I'm not gonna lie, low-key might get this book. Low-key might get this book.
West. He asked me to place a $400,000 wager for him on his own United States team to beat the Europeans in the 39th Ryder Cup.
The narrator here is, in fact, Billy Walters himself, not Sam Elliott, which is understandable. Bit of confusion if you have that. Billy Walters himself, not Sam Elliott.
39th Ryder Cup.
The narrator here is, in fact, Billy Walters himself, not.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm writing down this book. I have to, man. I'm trying to be rich. But I need more money so I can get a studio. Gotta make this a career, you feel me? And then I can use this power to just insult people for a living, and that's what I want to do.
Sam Elliott, which is understandable. Bit of confusion if you have that.
At least it was on his own team.
I was going to say that is better than the alternative on the one hand.
I can't believe that Phil Mickelson did this. He's never going to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Well, this was a concern actually that Billy Walters articulated, because Billy Walters very clearly wants you to know that he did not take this wager.
He asked me to place a $400,000 bet for him on the U.S. team to win. Once again, I could not believe what I was hearing. Have you lost your mind? I told him. Don't you remember what happened to Pete Rose? The former Cincinnati Reds manager was banned from baseball for betting on his own team. You're seen as a modern-day Arnold Palmer. You'd risk all of that for this? I want no part of it. All right, he replied before hanging up.
I do think it's worth noting here that Billy Walters himself went to prison for insider trading.
Yeah.
He is personally mad at Phil for reasons we'll get into later. And so what he says should be taken with some hefty grains.
Oh, damn. He had insider knowledge. I'm not buying that book now. I can't get the book now. He had insider knowledge. It's not fair. Damn. Well,
look, the sheer accounting of all of this, if you trust Billy Walters as your narrator, can also be backed up by just a general accounting of how much money Phil liked to throw around.
Based on our relationship and what I've heard from others, Phil wagered a total of more than $1 billion during the past 3 decades. The only person I know who surpassed that kind of volume is me. During a 20-year period beginning in the mid-90s, Phil's losses approached $100 million. That amount is 2.5 times higher than the $40 million reported by Alan Shipnuck in his best-selling unauthorized biography of Phil. He's a big-time gambler, and big-time gamblers make big bets.
All of which is to say that this big-time gambler making big-time bets meets Big Jim.
Yes, they were allegedly...
See, like, people who are this rich can just gamble like it's nobody's business. To be fair, people who are poor gamble crazy, too. So... it's just a thrill. It's just a thrill, man. Maybe we should put on like a policy or tax. Any gambling that gets taxed or that gets bet on this amount, a portion of that goes to help people in whatever you want to say, whether that's food or housing. Maybe a tax that a percentage of that goes into building more homes. That could do 2 things. One, it can start influxing a very intentional project to help people. And 2, it incentivizes less gambling, which is a problem in America right now. People are gambling too much. So that would be interesting. Tax on gambling. I'm a fan. Who else is a fan? Let me know.
On the board of a company together, and by allegedly I mean that Phil Mickelson tweeted that before deleting that tweet. And at some point during their conversations, Big Jim tells Phil about this company he's starting with his son and a bunch of other guys called Sable Offshore to go get this old oil project from Exxon back online. And over the last few months, if any of you follow Phil Mickelson on Twitter or X, you will see that Phil has tweeted hundreds of times
about basically his identity now.
Yes, he just tweets about like Gavin Newsom and California and Sable Offshore because he's a big investor in this company. And Pablo, I know it might sound kind of outlandish, but what you should understand is that for a minute, that seemed like an incredible bet, the kind of bet that could allow you to retire from the Live Tour or at least switch from the Live Tour to the PGA Tour. Because Sable started getting some momentum. The stock went from $10 to $18, which is, we'll come back to this later, around where I think Phil got invested in it, all the way up to $35. And there was one final thing they needed, which was approval from the state of California, from the fire marshal and a couple other.
10 to 35 is a lot of money. That's over triple. Davis Allen, not Puka Nakua. If they get approval, that stock is going to skyrocket. Should I put money in it? Oh my goodness, gambling is terrible.
Agencies to get this project back online.
But as someone who has been following Phil Mickelson and is friends with golf writers, lots of golf reporters who have been following him for even longer, the texture of his, I would say, hundreds of tweets about Sable Offshore, that texture mostly feels like desperation.
Yes, there is a patina of gambler's anxiety in there because Pablo, after Sable stock hit $35, things started going a little bit worse for Big Jim and the gang. Despite telling Phil and other investors that approval from California was just weeks away, days away. And I have lots of sources who have told me that Jim and Sable kept making those kinds of assurances. As the stock price started going down, and as those approvals didn't come day after day, week after week, and as Sable started getting charged with felonies by California for some of the work that it was doing in the state, Phil and other investors started to become very, very, very worried.
Northern Tool
Definitely
Equipment.
not investing now.
Ho.
Jesus. I doubt Newsom will capitulate. And I don't blame him at all, to be honest.
Just how worried was our group chat full of bros about this?
They were angry enough to reach out to me, someone who first wrote about Sable around 18 months ago, where I called it a pipe dream. And I think they reached out to me because they started to become afraid that I was right.
Right. So Hunter Brook Media, I want to explain the premise here as to why these bros are turning to Sam Koppelman.
So Hunter Brook's whole thing is we do accountability reporting, investigative reporting, dig deeper than anybody else. You should follow along if you like Pablo Torre finds out.
That's right.
Hunter
Like and
Brook
subscribe.
is fantastic at investigations. The thing about Hunter Brook that's different from a lot of other investigative media outlets is we don't monetize with ads or paywalls. We monetize the impact of our reporting through two other businesses. One is called Hunter Brook Law, where if a company is committing crimes or poisoning a lake or poisoning the air, we can sue that company and get some restitution for the people who were harmed. And the other business is called Hunter Brook Capital, which can take positions in the market based on Hunter Brook Media's reporting, all of which we disclose in each of our articles. And so I think some of these Sable long investors saw some of our disclosures last year that said that Hunter Brook.
I'm going to look into Hunter Brook. I feel like they'll be a good source.
Capital had bet against Sable Offshore.
And so the bros, seeing all these disclosures, all this information that you're digging up and you're transparently providing, they send you what?
Okay, so they send me two key things, two key pieces of evidence. One is a leaked phone call of Big Jim, some other execs from the company, with a select group of elite investors who they tell certain things that they did not tell the public, which we'll get to in a minute. And the second thing is this treasure trove of a group chat where Phil Mickelson seems to be sharing what I have heard some securities regulators describe as inside information that he got directly from Big Jim. And just to give you an example of this, because some of these aren't particularly close calls, on September 29th, Phil writes the group, "I spoke with Jim this morning. An announcement is coming today after market closes. It could be an 8K or press release. Not sure exactly what the details will be. I couldn't say anything until after the close."
Insider trading should be like banned. It's so bad. It is. This type of shit should be. I think it is banned. Hold on. Let me look this up. So it is banned. All right. I want to look. Is a serious security law violation that carries potential civil and criminal penalties. So the penalties as large as 3 times the gross profit on the trading. Securities Council is the. Okay. I might do a little after editing portion about insider trading.
Could be an 8K or press release. Not sure exactly what the details will be. I couldn't say anything until after the close. Lo and behold, about an hour later, Stable in fact releases a market-moving SEC filing and press release, as Jim told Phil that morning he would, and the stock moves.
Yeah, which sounds suspicious. Just on the base, look, again, as a pure, just like, what's happening here? Phil knows some stuff that people don't know, and he's teasing the group chat about what he knows and maybe what, therefore, it suggests about the direction of the company.
Correct. And a law professor we spoke to told us that this sounds like violations of a couple different SEC rules, including something called Reg FD that I'm not going to bore you with. But what's weird about this particular potential insider trading story, the saddest part of it, is that even with some of this seemingly inside info, Pablo, I don't think these guys are making money.
So what was happening to their money?
They were losing it. the stock price was going down.
And so, in terms of a desperation, in the ways that it's expressed on Twitter, I gotta say that when I started looking at the messages you were receiving, it put them into even sharper relief because the excerpts from the messages he was sending the chat. I mean, I should just read some of them here. We'll show them. Because in one of them, he writes, quote, "We need an actual prayer."
My plan is to sell and use the losses to offset other gains and buy back in after 30 days. I don't see how this can move up over the next 30 days. Roughly a month, so no offense till then. Longer than so even if fire marshal approves it, won't be allowed to restart. Now in 30 days if we get blah blah. Interesting.
I don't see a clear path forward. In that one, he basically admitting to planning to sell shares. In another one of them that you published, he writes, quote, "I'm very defeated right now." And yet another message, he says, quote, "I do it again, given the information we had. It's very defeated right now."
He's pissed off and going OS&T route. He says we are permitted working on BOE to verify, validate, or revalidate the permits. I don't know details. I don't think it's equal to say all this insider information.
And yet another message, he says, quote, "I do it again, given the information we had. It sucks that maybe there's a last-ditch effort to save it, and I think there should be, but it's not a path to invest in right now," end quote.
There's a creative side hustle almost nobody is talking about, and it's not content creation, being a YouTuber or a streamer or freelancing. It's voice acting. And with the right strategy, total beginners are...
I always thought about voice acting, right? This is completely off topic. Because I feel like I'll be good at it. And go serious. We can go demonic. We can go nerdy. Nerdy. We can go. I just think it would be fun.
Sells
I just don't have
half
time.
his stock. He says he wants to de-risk a little bit. But then, Pablo, there's another message very shortly afterwards where Phil says, "I'm buying it back."
I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving.
And so all of this obviously tracks with Phil's alleged commitment to making the big bets that Billy Walters himself, of course, guilty of insider trading, had spoken about before in the book, the audiobook that we played. But this particular strategy, I just want to understand it. I want to, again, as I try to do with you, I want to steel man Phil Mickelson's logic. Why was he buying back the thing he said he needed a prayer to save?
Because Pablo, Sable does have one real move left. The same move that Chauncey and Trevor Milton and CZ were running, which is appealing directly to the Trump administration. And the reason we know that this is Sable's plan is because of that second leak I got, the phone call between Sable and investors. And the voices you're about to hear in that call include Big Jim, and the Sable guys are laying out a plan to have Donald Trump circumvent California entirely. And instead of sending the oil through Newsom State in a pipeline, they're going to put it in a boat and hope that Big Daddy Trump saves them.
So just because I'm not super fluent in the world of oil pipelines, they're going to put the oil in a tanker, in a boat.
According to this call, yes.
That's not, and we're the number one project on the NEDC, which is the National Energy Dominance Council, because we're on board. And also, you heard it right here, guys. I've suggested this, and it's been ramped up to DJT, that we're going to change the name to Ocean America instead of Pacific Ocean and start drilling again out here. And I said, how do you guys? He goes, he liked it way too much, is the word I got back. So if you hear that Ocean America, that's where it came from.
I'm just telling you, I put some gold leaf on the platforms as well.
Well, we've also added that we're happy to plant. We need to know whether we need to paint the letters 50 feet tall or 70 feet tall for the Trump one on the side, so we make sure Oprah can see the tanker for her Montecito mansion, with the uppers on. And he came back and said he'd like it in gold.
There's a lot going on in that call.
Yeah,
man.
I should note that at first, when we asked Sable Offshore about this call, they said that the phone call was AI.
So the
base, that's the new defense. It was AI. That's gonna deflect you from all blame. It was AI. I could barely understand what he was saying. It was all jumbled up. So I don't really have a lot of commentary. I would have to slow it down. I have it on 1.25 speed. Maybe if I would listen on like normal speed, I would be able to understand what he was saying better. It kind of sounded all over the place to me.
EJT reference, Donald J. Trump, that's AI. The Oprah,
yeah, the
taunting
Oprah
her.
Montecito mansion sound, they claimed that was AI.
The giant gold lettering on Ocean America, which is just obviously transparently designed in the retelling of this to appeal to Big Daddy Trump.
This, they all say, is AI, which, if true, my God, we should all just quit our jobs because that is some good AI.
I want to invest in that company.
100%. In fact, in the group chat, which obviously Sable doesn't know we have access to, we see in messages that Big Jim went as far as to call investors and tell them, go tell everyone this is AI, which, by the way, itself might have been securities.
Yo, he got caught. Jim just phoned to say the voice call is AI generated and we would like us to get the word out in front of a Bloomberg article. Oh my goodness, seeing how evil and corrupt people are exposed in real time is so satisfying. It just feels good. Now we need to get more of them exposed. We need to expose more of these corrupt, evil pieces of garbage. Oh my goodness.
Fraud if they knew that the call was real.
And I just gotta sort of hit on this point here. What's been happening in the reporting of the story is that the bros in the group chat who are reaching out to you, they're not telling everyone else in the group chat that you're now in the group chat with them, basically.
Correct. I just get to watch the group chat happen, essentially, as it's taking place.
God. It's like that Atlantic story about the signal, the war plans, except significantly dumber, I would say. You're kind of just there.
This group chat makes Pete Hegseth and the boys look like they were very, very on their with their operational security.
They're OPSEC in this case. In the case of Sable Offshore, not great. But of course, these are serious allegations we're describing here. So Phil Mickelson, a very wealthy and famous man, what does he have to say about all of this?
So I get Phil's number. Fun fact, Phil seems to change his number all the time. I figure out which is his current number. Get him on the phone. He talks for a sec. He's like, who is this? And I'm like, I'm calling from Hunter Brook. He's like, no, thank you. And hangs up right away. And then he does something I've never experienced before as a reporter, which is that he then posts in the group chat my number and is like, warning, guys, here's the number they called from. They're very curious about our group chat.
Here's the number they just called from. Hunter Brook is a short shop. They wrote a short report on Stable last April. Clowns. How dare they expose our corruption and us being evil pieces of garbage. Super based. Hunter Brook, you're moving me. Ha! We need more people out there to expose these pieces of garbage.
Doesn't think to leave the group chat and instead keeps posting about it.
The thing that gets posted in the group chat, which is the part that made me laugh out loud when I saw it, unfortunately for you, does involve Craigslist.
Yes, they tried to dox me by putting up a Craigslist post with my number on it.
Yeah. So this is a Craigslist post. The title is Free Dog Food, parentheses Lafayette. This is a place in California. Quote, hey, y'all. Sad story, but my old 3.5-year Great Dane finally done kicked her bucket. Got here about 350 pounds of Purina dog chow if somebody just wants to drop by and get it out of the carport. I'm on disability and cannot lift nothing too heavy. There are typos throughout the entire thing, just for the record. My nephew Till will help you load it. Give him a call at your phone number.
Correct.
What? What a wild way to try to dox someone. that is some okay.
And
right.
I'm obviously watching this the whole time.
Yeah, they're loving what's happening to you at this point in the story.
They are, until I put all of this in our investigation, which we published last Friday. And then we finally got a response from Phil.
Imagine bringing your side
Oh man, you gotta look at celebrities some type of way. Phil Mickelson's a piece of shit.
So to catch people up, the way I enter this story in the public record is me quote tweeting your article at Hunter Brook that you referenced before, in which you publish your revelations about these messages in this group chat. And what I said in the quote tweet on X, the Everything app, was, quote, why do I get the feeling that this is not the end of this story? And then later in the day, as I'm just walking through Manhattan, it's Halloween afternoon, I get a reply from Phil Mickelson. And the message that was screenshotted in that quote tweet, just for the record here, was the thing we described before about that 8K or press release coming after market closing. Not exactly sure what the details will be. Couldn't say anything till after close, blah, 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 blah. And so Phil replies to me, quote, so a company says I can't say anything to you, but we will announce something at the close. I don't know if it's a dilution and the stock goes down or a deal for the stock to go up. I have to wait to see what the info is. I make no trades whatsoever and am ultra careful given past history. I don't even share that information is coming till after the close. And you insinuate wrongdoing? ? This looks like stock manipulation on their part and slanderous. Did they make any trades today ?
Bro, the willingness for people to go out of their way and try to make themselves look innocent despite all the wrongdoing, it really can blackmail someone. It's like, you are doing obviously bad stuff. You are more interested in filling up your pockets than protecting the environment that was screwed over from the oil spill that happened. You are doing insider trading with insider information about the situation taking place so you can make money. And still you try to make it seem like what you're doing is okay. Like, come on.
And my response to that, naturally, is, hi, Phil Mickelson. I'd love to continue discussing this on Pablo Finds Out and provide a real opportunity for you to answer questions. Could we please set up a time for us to talk? Thank you! !
I respect this.
And I'm here to regretfully inform our audience that he did not get back to me. So did he?
I want to create on my show, I want to allow anybody to come on and talk to. But I should be wary of speaking to certain individuals because I consider myself a smart guy. Yeah, I'm arrogant, but I don't know everything. It's impossible to know everything. So if I bring in some like insane flat earther that knows the ins and outs of make-believe science, I should probably have a good like side individual to kind of help me navigate the science I do not understand.
Get back to you.
He did not, despite having my phone number. He did tweet that he would have a lawyer reach out to us tomorrow.
Yeah, and so just in the timeline here, when was that?
Oh, on Halloween, last Friday.
So the lawyer has reached out to you?
No, we haven't heard anything from Phil Mickelson, who, by the way, as I mentioned, had been tweeting about Sable Offshore every day. After his tweets to you and me, he's gone conspicuously quiet.
Sable, though, just as we get all of the legal responses in order here, did Sable Offshore respond?
So to our initial story, they said this is AI. Then, on Monday morning, they scheduled an emergency press conference where they announced that they'd opened an investigation with a special committee to look into our findings. And I will note that on that call, they did not refer to the leaked audio as AI. In fact, they confirmed a core part of it about how they were going to need to dilute shareholders, which was not great news for that group chat.
Right. And so for the shareholders, for the group chat, for the stock price, what was the share price's reaction then?
It did not pump. It's down like 60 or something % since we published.
Right. The graph that I'm indicating, this seems like bad news for Sable Offshore, but good news, I presume.
Went from $10 to start, all the way up to 30, all the way down to 5. That's tough.
For Hunter Brook Capital, the financial arm of your company, which took a position on this based on your reporting.
Yes, we disclosed that after our story came out, Hunter Brook Capital read it and did not decide to go long on Sable Offshore. They bet against it. And then later this week, there was actually a vote from the Santa Barbara Board of Supervisors where they voted to decline to transfer ownership of the pipeline from Exxon to Sable.
The final straw for me was a Hunter Brook article, which was as disturbing as anything I've read. The fallout from that recorded phone call has already been severe, and this is before regulators have weighed in. I have many friends in the oil industry, and I will continue to support efforts to access our natural resources, but it has to be done responsibly by operators who put safety above profits. The evidence in this case is overwhelming. There is something wrong with the strategy of Sable's leadership.
By the way, that guy...
I'm really thinking about, oh my goodness, how am I about to win this fantasy matchup? If I beat Jonathan Taylor had 50 fantasy points. If I beat the team that had Jonathan Taylor on it, I'm just like him. I'm Timothy. I'm just Timothy.
Is pro oil and gas and had previously voted to approve the transfer, but obviously, in light of the new information, just couldn't get behind taking that risk for the people of Santa Barbara.
Yeah, that was an unambiguous clip from that guy who seemed to both credit your reporting and also seemed at a loss for a way to spin this. And if you're Phil, like, I just want to get a sense of how much money he personally lost.
So we don't know when he or if he resold the shares he bought back after selling them after buying them.
Right.
But we do have a sense from that same Billy Walters book you quoted from earlier of the size of the bets that Phil Mickelson was willing to take.
Yeah. That book, by the way.
So imagine this, right? You invest based off the initial amount that were given from Billy Walters. He invested $400,000 into this. Just a guess. It made up to over $1 million. And then you lost all of that. And then your initial amount. And now that stock is worth $200,000. That is crazy. Imagine losing $1 million. Oh, go fuck yourself.
Has a truly crazy degree of detail.
That's crazy.
A truly crazy degree of accounting on exactly how much Phil liked to spend as a sports gambler.
After my business relationship with Phil ended, I learned a lot more about his betting from two very reliable sources in sports gambling. They said it was nothing for Phil to bet $20,000 a game of long-shot 5-team NBA parlays, or wager $100,000 or $200,000 a game on football, basketball, and baseball. Based upon my detailed betting records and additional records provided by the sources, here's a snapshot of Phil's gambling habit between 2010 and 2014. He bet $110,000 to win $100,000 a total of 1,115 times. On 858 occasions, he bet $220,000 to win.
Bro, I am all in favor with taxing this amount of gambling. I'm gonna be honest. This just needs to be taxed. It just does. These gambling companies, I wonder how much these gambling companies compared to like retail companies. Like a DraftKings compared to a Walmart. Or DraftKings compared to a Kroger, how much net revenue they get? I'm so curious.
And $200,000. The sum of those 1,973 gross wagers came to more than $311 million. In 2011 alone, he made 3,154 bets, an average of nearly 9 per day. On one day in 2011, June the 22nd, he made 43 bets on Major League Baseball games, resulting in $143,500 in losses. He made a staggering 7,065 wagers on football, basketball, and baseball.
And if you're wondering, how is it possible that one man could be both one of the greatest golfers of all time, one of the greatest lefties we've ever seen in sports history, as well as this prolific when it comes to sports betting? Billy Walters also has a bit of surrounding context.
Here's hoping Michael Jordan is not this bad when it comes to gambling. Because right now, Michael Jordan, I think, is the GOAT. Nothing's going to change that. Unless Wemby surpasses him. Or LeBron wins like a couple more championships somehow. But Jesus, this is bad. This is terrible.
Phil didn't let his playing in PGA tournaments get in the way of betting. Indeed, according to the 2010-2014 betting records, he made 1,734 wagers on games during 29 events. This included 70 separate bets on baseball and preseason pro football during the Barclays tournament in August 2011, where he shot 8 under and tied for 43rd. He won $415,000 in bets that weekend. On February 11, 2012, a busy college basketball Saturday, Phil blew himself up by running his betting losses to nearly $4 million, according to the gambling sources familiar with Phil's other bets. Even so, he displayed an incredible ability to compartmentalize. He shot 64 the following day to win the AT&T Pro-Am at Pebble Beach while playing with and demolishing Tiger Woods by 11 shots.
All of which is to say that the guy is not afraid to put money down on a thing he thinks there's a shot at winning.
Say what you will about Phil Mickelson, the man has conviction.
And so if you're going to mathematically just take an informed guess at what Phil was rooting for here, what he lost, how do you report that out?
We don't have the exact financial information here. You know, I spoke to some of the Sable investors who seem to think at some point he and his partner owned like 2% of the company, which could have been tens and tens and tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars, meaning he could have lost like tens of millions of dollars on this. We do have messages where it's clear Phil is just going through it. He's talking about how Sable's making him too anxious to go on a hike or to go fishing, how he's buying certain options but not others, so he'll have peace of mind. It definitely didn't seem like a low-key casual thing Phil was doing, as, by the way, is clear to anybody who follows his Twitter account and notices that he's tweeted more about Sable Offshore, certainly than golf or his family or anything like that.
Yeah, it does seem to indicate that Phil Mickelson was so stressed out by Sable Offshore that he could not actually touch grass, which is a problem when you're, of course, also a golfer. But just as a point of clarification, his own personal history that he referred to before, right? He said it in the tweet that he sent me.
Ultra careful, given his history.
Given past history. What is the past history?
So you know how Phil Mickelson history.
Given.
All right, what does this say? So a company says I can't say anything to you, but we'll announce something at the close. Oh.
Past history. What is the past history?
So you know how Phil Mickelson used to make bets with Billy Walters. He was also embroiled in an insider trading case that the government brought against Walters that accused Mickelson of trading based on tips that were sent to him by Billy Walters.
And this did not go great, at the very least, for Billy Walters.
Las Vegas golf course owner and gambler Billy Walters was found guilty of using inside trade information to make millions of dollars.
And if you just keep digging into Billy's book, his feelings toward Phil about this specific chapter of his life are also unambiguous.
Phil had an opportunity to testify at my trial, to tell the truth about whether he received inside information regarding one of two stocks that I had recommended to him. Phil decided not to testify on my behalf. How did I feel? Completely betrayed.
We should note, Walters didn't actually end up serving that full sentence.
Yes. We should note this for legal reasons, and also because it turns out that Billy Walters, Phil Mickelson's old gambling buddy, decided to run a very familiar play.
Well, new tonight, President Trump is commuting the sentence of a Las Vegas philanthropist and professional gambler. Well, William Walters is serving 5 years in prison for insider trading. He has already served 4 years of that sentence and has paid also $44 million in fines as well. Now,
Yo, what the fuck? Yo, what the fuck, bro? This shit is so wild. This level of corruption is so freaking wild, man. You could do the most corrupt things, insider trading. You can allow your company to have terrorist organizations kind of go through it and use it as a source to fund their operations. You can accept foreign money. You can scam voters. You can scam supporters. You can look into their information illegally. You basically could do whatever you want as long as you're willing to suck Donald Trump's dick. This is crazy. And now Phil Mickelson and a bunch of these other guys with Sable Offshore are going to also try to suck Donald Trump's dick so they can get more money. I think it says a lot that you can do some of the most evil things in the world as long as you ask Donald Trump, who is also an evil piece of shit, to pardon them. Would it surprise me if he pardoned Diddy at this point? No. But yeah, MAGA, keep on defending your guy, though. Good job.
Finally brings us back to the 14-inch from the first act.
Yes, Chekhov's. We must, of course, pay it off.
We must. And to jog your memory, in case it's not seared into it forever.
Yeah, I should now, I guess, be on record quoting it. Big Daddy Trump, in all caps, Trump, ready to swing his 14-inch in front of Newsom's face, will drive up any stock.
And obviously, the reason that Gavin Newsom is relevant here is that he is in charge, ultimately, of the office of the state fire marshal that Sable needed for approval. And what Phil is essentially saying is if Trump says F off to Newsom with his genitalia, then perhaps the stock price of Sable Offshore can become more tumescent.
I don't think that's a group. That's a group chat word. I don't think that shows up in the record. I don't think tumescence is part of their
I wanted to show some class after saying all episode.
Well, listen. What Phil Mickelson, apparently what he believes now, as your reporting continued, is that the game is actually still not over.
Correct. And Sable, for the record, is not dead yet. They are still trying to get support from the Trump administration. And one of the ways that they are going to try to do this, according to that leaked phone call, which I want to be clear, Phil Mickelson was not on, but he was alluded to on that call as part of this final play Sable wants to run, which involves a round of golf between, quote, a certain left-hander.
Whether you're a professional contractor or simply take pride in handling your own home repairs and projects,
and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick.
And by the way, while you're sipping, I'm going to tell you, you might have a certain golf buddy, lefty. I've got a certain golf buddy that's in the Commerce Department. Nice to know. Nice to know. Yeah, I'm on the way. I've had to promise Lutnick a golf game on the West Coast with a certain left-hander. So about that. I'm right committed, so we'll bump some in. How's that? Howard was told he can only have one Secret Service guy come to play instead of 3 video questions. So when you go up to the East Coast, take you out. Then you got to win it. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, so just to translate that again, like, so a certain lefty, who happens to be, in this case, pivoting way right, is trying to, it's just hard not to take the layups when they're available.
What does someone in Twitch chat say? The absurdity of destroying society just to make a few rich people richer is that there is objectively no quality of life difference between having 1% of $1 billion being a billionaire or having 100 billion. Like, facts. It really, what, you can afford a bigger yacht? Like, it's just so ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous.
It's just hard not to just put it in when available.
I think that joke was more of a flop shot, but sure.
It's fair. The plan is,
just so we're on the same page, the idea is that they're going to have Phil Mickelson meet with Howard Lutnick, who's a piece of shit and obviously on Trump's board, and try to convince Trump to circumvent Gavin Newsom so they can do some weird scheme and get the oil from that California pipeline. Yo, you can't make this shit up, bro.
U.S. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick is going to play golf with Phil Mickelson. And this, of course, raises the follow-up journalistic question, which is, what did Howard Lutnick have to say about that?
Okay, so I didn't speak to Howard Lutnick, but I spoke to a source very, very close to Howard Lutnick, super familiar with his thinking, who told me that Lutnick says he's never heard of Sable Offshore and does not have any plans to golf with Phil Mickelson. Honestly, and they didn't say this to me, but it seems like they might be a little bit offended that Howard Lutnick would need Big Jim to help him book a golf game with Phil Mickelson.
Hearing it all spelled out like this in these calls.
Yo, they got curved, bro. They got curved. What's boys in the Twitch said? The ruling class of a pathological addiction to wealth accumulation. They all need to be involuntarily committed. Involuntarily committed is kind of crazy. Shout out Steven Universe too, by the way, with your profile picture. I think that was a great cartoon. Yeah, it's the selfishness and the greed is disgusting.
It does kind of feel a bit insulting to the Trump administration that the way everyone's trying to charm them is very predictable and very, like, almost infantilizing to the people they're trying to, like, charm here.
Totally. As you listen to that audio, it's clear that Sable Offshore thinks that the Trump administration is going to greenlight them. If only they put up big gold letters, rename the Pacific Ocean, Ocean America, and book tea times for their cabinet secretaries.
But by the way, whatever happened to the group chat? What happened to the room full of bros that you got to know in the course of your investigation?
Well, Phil definitely should have more time to play in a golf game with Howard Lutnick because, unfortunately, the morning I published the story, there were a few more messages in the group chat, which is mind-boggling, where some of the people in the group chat said that they were going to go find the rat responsible and show up at their door. Rat, a term used for people fessing up to crimes.
That's right.
Anyway, they said they were going to find the rat. Then the group chat, unfortunately, may it rest in peace, dissolved.
Which is to say that Phil Mickelson has more time to play golf on the beautiful coast of Ocean America, or, just keep writing. Keep writing, Phil.
I think he's got a lot of promise as a writer. I'm not sure I would deploy it on the platform known as X.
But I do think he should deploy it in a genre that might be described as XXX.
Can't top that.
XXX. Let's go. Look on Trump's 14-inch wine.
Pablo Torre Finds Out is produced by Walter Avaroma, Maxwell Carr.
Shout out Pablo Torre. I thought the video was interesting, so I decided to use it for content and Obviously, I won't make a video on it, but I do think it's just a small piece of a bigger issue going on right now with the idea that some of the most terrible people that exist could just suck off Donald Trump's wang and just get pardoned. It's crazy. It's craziness. Before we wrap up this particular video, I got some other stream ideas before we wrap up today's stream. Let's look at the comments. 5 a.m. is a lot easier when PTFO is dropping. Pablo Torre finds out. Shout out. Oh, I forgot to leave comments on all these videos. I'm not him. Wow, no wonder Phil left golf to sell his soul to LIV to supplement his gambling addicts. Tough. I love when MAGA go completely homoerotic talking about dumb fairy tale. You know. You know what? He's kind of onto something. If you hear how some of these people in MAGA, grown men who probably hate gay people, talk about Trump, I swear to God, they would let Trump fuck them if they had the choice. I swear to God, that is the reality that is going on. That's funny. This is clearly becoming one of the best shows in the history of all history. Yeah, Pablo Torre, you're actually putting up some key important quality content. I gotta step my game up. The Esteem Files episode will be amazing. If only, man. I'm not playing with these folks. Anybody can get it. I work graves at Casino Vegas. I love that I get all these at like 2 a.m. all the time. Publishing these at 2 a.m. is actually insanity. But also subscribing. Hunter Brook needs more subscribers. Jesus, only 900 is crazy. All right, what comment? All these NFL games going on right now all suck, but I need them all to cook so I can win my fantasy games. Let me what comment? What should I say? Here's hoping Michael Jordan doesn't end up in one of these videos. I think is an elite comment.